That is the case, and I don't think that that's a scare tactic, because if you understand the way Prince George's County government budget operates, since it does not have, it being the county does not have the opportunity to raise revenues by raising taxes because of the TRIM initiative being in place, it only has one other option in order to balance a budget, that is to cut expenses.
Right.
And then you have to look at, okay, if we're going to cut expenses, what are the largest line items where you can get the maximum benefit from a cut? And it's going to be payroll, it's going to be employees, it's going to be education. The education, Prince George's County Board of Education takes over 2/3 of the county's budget. That comes right off the top. So, so essentially you're running the county with less than 1/3 of the revenues for all of the rest of the services, whether it be public safety, whether it be, Department of Environmental Resources, transportation, or roads, what have you. All of that's run on less than 1/3 of the revenue. So anyone in business knows that when you need to cut costs, you look at the largest line items first, because that's where you're going to get the biggest opportunity to maximize any cost that you need to cut. So that's reality. It's not a scare tactic. It is reality.
Let me respond specifically. One of the reasons we have to disagree on this, that I believe it is a scare tactic. And let me tell you why. And I'm glad you mentioned businesses, because typically a business would immediately go to the fat. They wouldn't go and get rid of the salespeople or the people who make the product. They define the people who have the least impact on the enterprise and remove them. So I'm going to have to at least give thanks to Judy Robinson, who's been working on this issue a lot longer than I have. I contacted her just to get some information in terms of where we could possibly go. And these are areas where the county executive, when asked about it, did not respond where we could go. We have $189 million in a rainy day fund. A rainy day fund is for emergencies. I think we're in one. He could take $50 million out of that, but they haven't said they would do it. Mr. Johnson himself has said that he would implement an across-the-board 10% cut on all departments. Now, based on my figures, you got a $2.6 billion budget. You got a $102 million hole in your pocket. That's about 4%. If you cut everyone's budget by 10%, you should be able to make up that difference. You'd have a surplus. One of the other areas that they could look is that apparently our education department is looking to move into a new building that's going to cost them about $36 million over 10 years. Now, at the same time, they're still going to be paying leases on the places that they are moving out of to the tune of millions of dollars. Depending on who you believe, they're going to spend $20 to $40 million to retrofit these buildings. The smart businessman would cancel those leases. He would not move. He would save those tens of millions of dollars, because he knows he can't afford to pay for the new place and maintain the old place at the same time. This is common sense management. And the last thing is that there will be a change in attitude. A county that is looking at a deficit of $102 million and beyond would not lease new cars for the county council and other people on the staff. And they would be transparent about the budget if they had to go before the shareholders and say, trust me, the budget's going to be $2.6 billion and we've cut as much as we can. I guarantee those shareholders would say, show me the details on that budget, line by line. Now, since we are in a new administration now with President Obama, one of the things he's talked about is going line by line through the Congress's budget.
Sure.
If it's good enough for Congress, it's good enough for the county. If the county executive can't find these cuts, I would challenge them to open up that budget to other experts, because I can virtually guarantee you anybody who's balanced his own checkbook would find 4% out of a $2.6 billion budget to cut.
Wow. Well, Terry, I'm going to ask you to give us a 30-second wrap-up on where you see this going, and perhaps we'll have to have you both back in on another occasion where we can talk further.
Absolutely. One of the things, and I'll do this within 30 seconds, Mikhail should know as an attorney that you don't go around canceling leases. Those are signed contracts, so that would create more of a budget issue if the
Except
county
for
goes
the government.
Government
almost always has a release that lets them out of any contract.
I did not. Hey, come on now, you're not Ann Coulter, so I didn't break in on you.
I just want to correct the fact. That's all. My apologies.
Thank you. And secondly, the rainy day fund, if Miguel, again, as an attorney, does a little research, he'll find out that because of TRIM, the county has to set aside a certain percentage of its money in the rainy day fund because it does not have the ability to raise revenues. A little research will help tweak your argument, Miguel. And as an attorney, I think you should know better than that. But let's go back.
They only have to pay the money back. That's why they don't want to use it. They are required to pay it back by the next year.
All right, I want to thank you both for joining us and sharing such a spirited perspective from both sides. Though it was nonpartisan, it was very informative. We appreciate you both and appreciate the service that you do. And we encourage folks to get involved in the process. We'll be back in just a few moments. You're listening to Wealth of the Nation.
Talker 1580.
Welcome back to Wealth of the Nation. We hope you've enjoyed the first segment of the show. And those of you who are just joining us, we want to welcome you in. This segment of the show, we're going to give you some tax tips. And we have our very capable and competent CPA, Miss Nadine Amato of Amato CPA and Associates, in the studio with us again. Welcome. Thank you for joining us again. Before we get to your tax tips, which impacts everybody, we've been talking about things that are impacting us locally, but we are joined on the line by Miss Zara Buck, our very capable political correspondent and analyst. How are you today, Zara?
I'm doing well, DaRayl. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a privilege. Thank you for joining us. And we know you have the national issues that's on the tips of everybody's tongue at the water cooler.
That I do. This week, as you know, Congress is in recess, but President Obama will be signing momentarily an almost $800 billion stimulus package that both the House and Senate agreed to over the weekend.
Yes.
The president will sign the bill in Denver, and some of the highlights include a home buyer tax credit in the amount of $8,000 for all home buyers, and also a new car tax credit and a host of other incentives.
Wow. You know, there's some symbolism, I'm imagining, with the whole fact that it's being signed in Denver. Is that sort of like, this is where it all began? I mean, or is there another reason that he's out there in Denver, or is it just speculation on our parts?
Exactly. As a former campaign staffer, and a lot of publicity surrounding the president is run like campaigns, there's definitely a symbolism of Denver. Denver is a very green city. Mm-hmm. I actually covered the Democratic convention in Denver, and so just getting around town, everything is, centered around hybrid, yes. And energy saving ways of living. And so this is very symbolic because the overriding theme that he's always wanted to emphasize was not only infrastructure rebuilding in this stimulus package, but also green jobs and green economy.
Excellent.
And next up we have Senator Burris.
Mm-hmm. He's in the news again, huh?
Yeah, we thought we were going to get past Senator Burris and he was going to go away quietly, but apparently not.
Zara, this stuff happening out of Illinois is really giving me a bad reputation. I was born in Illinois.
Absolutely.
And I'm telling people this is quickly becoming the District of Chicago and not the District of Columbia. What's up with all of the bad rap? What's going on with Senator Burris? I've heard.
I'm going to give you all the credit for your state. Senator Burris submitted an affidavit late last week admitting that Governor Blagojevich's brother solicited campaign contributions from Senator Burris prior to the governor naming him senator.
Right.
And this is in direct contradiction to his testimony that he gave under oath, I might add, sure, before the Illinois legislature, and he will more than likely face perjury charges in Illinois as a result. So that's something that we should definitely keep our eyes and ears open for, because I don't think that the other shoe has dropped on this particular issue.
Wow. Perhaps he can plead what a former politician at a high office said. I don't remember. Could it perhaps be something like that? He could attribute his contradiction to.
Yeah, well, his press that he did over the weekend certainly did indicate that was going to be his defense. The only problem is that he was specifically asked whether or not he had been solicited by the governor or the governor's agent.
Right.